Hey, Shadowhawk.
Hey, Rex, what's going on, buddy?
Fresh out of the shower. Not the sour. I got the
Sour?
sour off. Yeah,
You taking a bath in sweet and sour sauce?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's,
Ooh, tasty.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, old
That's
tree
not the
goblin.
words. Yeah, he says we're late. So, prep time. I sit down, would have been on time. I'm looking, I'm like patting my hair, and I'm like, oh, I didn't comb my hair down. It's like,
Yeah,
you know, Carrot Top or Yahoo Serious or
yeah, there.
Eraserhead. It's like, whoa, I got to do something about this. Rush will never come back, right?
That's
Uh,
yeah. We don't want to make a bad impression.
well, we do that every day.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't see anything. You didn't see anything. Uh, no Jedi mind
That's
trick.
right. I saw nothing. These
Yeah,
are
that's
not the
right. The
droids you're looking for.
penguins from Madagascar. You didn't see anything.
That's
Did a little
I always
radio
like that.
drama today.
I
Uh,
saw that. Yeah, I caught a little bit of it, but it was right before the show, so I didn't get to finish.
Not to be missed, radio drama. Yeah, I flubbed it up a couple times there, but going from a rough draft, I'd just written it, and so I just performed it.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you didn't catch that, you definitely did catch that. That's
Yeah,
that's
I
for
think I got about. I think
everyone
I
to
got
hear.
about halfway through.
Yeah. Okay. It was only about 4.5 minutes. If you can't spur, hey, I'm hitting that algorithm, right?
That's all right. War
War
Campaign just announced they're coming to FMC. What's this about, Tree
Fund
Goblin?
My Comic. Oh boy. Well, maybe it's their cowboy book, right? That EVS did a cover for. What was that cover called?
Oh God,
See, nobody remembers. Nobody
I know I'm
remembers.
mind blanking on that one now.
Tree Goblin says should be interesting.
Wonder what they'll be trying to bring over. Interesting.
I don't know. Uh, you really can't remember. You backed that book because of the
I know
EVS.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. Uh,
Was it a good read? I don't think it was. Was it?
nah, it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I backed it because of the Ethan cover and
Right.
just because they were on Ethan's channel being hyped and whatever. But yeah,
How
it
was
wasn't.
the how was the interior artwork and everything?
Oh, it was decent. There wasn't nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. I believe it was Gat Hanzo that did the
Yeah.
interior art. It's pretty nice.
Now you didn't back the second one after that, did you?
No, no.
No. No.
Actually, I was gonna cancel my backing on the first one after all this shit happened with Anna and her sister and
Uh,
with
but
War
you can't
Campaign.
after 10 days, right? On
Right?
Indiegogo.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't cancel it.
I
So
wonder how that works over on Fund My Comic. A cancellation. I know Luke's told me before, but I can't remember.
yeah, I'm not sure on that
Yeah.
one.
Vestige. It was
That's
Vestige.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
G Goblin.
I
Thank
have
you.
a character called Vestige that will be a character set in the future. Um,
Well,
it's one of those words you can. Yeah. And Roe has copyrighted Comicsgate in Canada. Laugh out loud.
that
Wow.
really okay. Well, more power to them, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to. I mean, if Roe.
I don't know
I
what
mean, I
that means.
imagine Ethan would probably let Roe, as long as he didn't stir up anything, use the Comicsgate trademark, right? If he wanted to. I
Ooh,
mean,
I don't know, but maybe.
I didn't on my ash can. I mean, it's just, I just take it for granted people know that I am Comicsgate. I wouldn't be here, as you said, Shadowhawk, if it weren't for Ethan, right?
Right.
And it's draw streams and not even his drama streams. First time he had on Cecil, I said, "Whoa, what is this?" With the mask, and I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
"Wow, he's hitting bottom of the barrel here." Sorry, Cecil. First impressions. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
Cecil is
no,
it
I
took me a
didn't.
couple times to get used to Cecil, but he's got a great sense of humor.
Oh yeah, yeah. He comes from a good place, right?
Oh yeah.
It might be the slums, but
But
he comes from a good place. Not bad for a Yankee.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. When I when I get home, I may do, we'll see, a stream of a new character. Of course, that'll be tomorrow, early tomorrow, because I will be out till probably about 2:30 uh, or so tonight. I'm guessing, guesstimation. Uh,
Oh,
but yeah, I'll be designing a new character. Hopefully, if I do the stream, the Centurion. That was the one I was calling Soldier that I had wanted Vic, as a
oh
kind
right, yeah.
a person that pursues a slaver out of hell.
Hmm.
You know, um, everything's subject to change. I thought I have a good concept for him, and I think Vic initially drew a rough draft through my directions um, for the character, but that artwork has come up missing. So I just thought, if he's going to have to redraw it in the future, I would redesign. I would design the character. My He'll be a little hunched over. He'll be, monstrous, of course, hellish, but his backbone will be showing out. His spine will be showing, kind
Oh,
of
okay.
curved outside of his back.
Right.
That's going to be pretty cool. Look, but Tree Goblin says, remember the book WC made? It's the same as Rocket, like a CG wizard. They never released it. They're putting that on Fund My Comic.
Oh, okay. What was the name of that tree? Do you remember?
And I think that's good. Competition is good. We love Rocket Magazine here. We love Steve Dive here. Uh,
Yeah.
Fund My Comic has finally gotten a couple that have went over $10,000 crowdfunded. That ain't peanuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying, that ain't peanuts.
And they're getting more people, joining all the time. So it's going well so far. CG Jumpstart. Okay, I didn't realize that was War Campaign putting that together.
Well, I think we're already jump started by this point, don't you?
Yeah, I would think.
Is that what it's called? CG Jumpstart?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah, I
if
remember
you
them
want to know,
talking about it.
if you want to know, it's already dyed in the wool. Rocket Magazine #1, #2. You can get the catch up tier. I did. I got the full payload. One of those rare occasions where I can back, fully a campaign. Very affordable at $115. Uh, you get issue 1, issue 2. You get a T-shirt. You get a beanie. You get a koozie for your drink. You get a
Yeah.
Rocket Mission #2 cover poster. You get a Rocket Mission badge and stickers. Pretty good bundle for $115, folks.
Yeah, not
Look
bad
at
at
that
all.
Cyber Frog fan art there. They've
Yeah,
got a
very cool.
super fan art. They've got Billy Tucci article in there. They have Boots and Heels and what Camel Moon
Oh,
was
man.
doing.
Yeah.
Dynamic storytelling by Dean. I mean, it's going to be a nice magazine when it's all put together. Right? Look at that cover, man.
Yeah. Oh
You
wow.
got An- Andy Smith, Pineapple Perception. You got King Cryptid by Peter Samedi. I mean, what else you want?
Yeah, Tree Goblin says it was actually put together by Steve,
Oh, cool.
the CG
I'm glad
Jumpstart.
to see
So
him in the game. Uh,
yeah.
here's mission #2 from Rocket Magazine, issue #2, trailer. Choppy
Rocket
S there.
Magazine, built to propel indie comics into the stratosphere. A modern ode to publications like
Excuse me.
Epic Illustrated, Alter Ego, and Heavy Metal. Featuring Billy Tucci, Dan Fraga, Andy Smith, Peter Samedi, and Mark Bolton. Additional content, including tutorials and previews from the Barton Brothers, Camel Moon, Crowfire Studios, Kier Covington, Dean James, Rob Arnold, and many more. Become part of the mission.
Absolutely, and let that rocket crash and due to cosmic ray interference, and you too can have superpowers with NCG.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's best case scenario, right? It happened to Red Ghost and his super apes. Of course, they had like a all clear, all I don't know if it was glass, but it was to let even more cosmic rays penetrate. But he never did defeat the Fantastic Four. I don't even think he came close.
No, probably not.
Yeah. Tree Goblin said Steve Dye made it before they fell out, so it never came out.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Like to see what Steve did with it.
Yeah, he puts together a great magazine. He's got quite the history.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's been in magazine biz for what, 40 years or so?
Yeah, I need to go back and just see the last time that we talked to him. That was a long time ago.
Been a while, yeah.
But we went about 6.5 hours with him, not on stream, but about 4.5 hours of those were on stream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
had a
and then
great
we talked to
conversation.
him behind stage for about 2.5 hours after that. We had a good old time. You'll have a gay old time.
Yeah, he's just a great dude, man. Easy to talk to.
No, too soon. Yeah, he's a great guy to talk to. He was drinking beer.
Yep.
You don't get more down home than that, huh?
There you go.
You know what? I'm gonna prep the show. I was gonna play Frog G because we love some Frog G around here, and you can get a Frog G beanie over there for a short time. And we love Goblin Girl. We love hockey. I'm trying to get hockey on.
Awesome.
He may be able to join us with a Wednesday with Elixir. Retro
okay.
Elixir. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. I may do it at an earlier time. Trying to line out some talent like Aaron Lepresti. He did get back with me.
Yeah, I heard something from him yesterday as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
We love some Aaron Lepresti and Shelly around here. I hope Shelly can join in.
I hope Shelly comes too, man. She's awesome.
She's a CG queen, right?
CG Mama Bear. That's right.
Oh my gosh! Don't call her that, please.
She knows. She was a.
She knows.
Yeah, Shelly was the. Everybody was calling her Mama Bear at first because when people started coming out and talking smack about Aaron, man, she was all over it.
Pedro says next week sounds good, so we'll have Pedro Jacinto on, better known as Pedro Ang. I've reached out to Jeremy Bartz as well. Maybe sometime next week. Kind of inconclusive, but reaching out to some of these people to come on and trying to keep it loaded. If you have a revolver, you want to keep it loaded, right?
There you go. So what's Jeremy working on these days?
Well, he does like celebrity portraits and stuff.
Okay.
For one thing, he's very good, and Kate from Orlando actually recommended him. Carrie says, "Hell, gents."
Hey, Carrie, how you doing today, dear?
Aaron Lepresti said, "Thank you. I know we need to schedule a time to do your show. Thursdays and Fridays, and occasionally Saturdays are the only days I'm not regular streaming." So he's a streaming monster over there and fulfilling and drawing, and I also reached out to 6 a.m. Comics. Does anybody know that if 6 a.m. actually gets on shows and talks?
I don't know. I don't believe I've ever seen 6 a.m. Yeah.
He may not want to come on, but hopefully he'll get back with we have corresponded some. Carrie says, meanwhile, in other CG news, RJ wore black t-shirt today.
Well, alert
and you heard it here first. Thank you, Carrie, for that news update. Of course, I'd like to get Irene on,
Oh, yeah.
She's very busy. She's busy fulfilling Fiendish number 2 that went over $200,000. Woohoo!
Yeah, it's just killing.
That's going to be life-changing for her and her, publishing. It's going to be life-changing. Just that $4,000, I'm sure, was life-changing in a way, right? For that one auction piece.
Oh,
that
sure.
had
I mean,
That had to be a good boost, right? Sell one piece of art for $4,000 on auction.
oh yeah, it's got. I mean,
I
it's got to
know it
be.
was a boost for the Red Valkyrie underground auction.
Oh yeah, and it's I mean, it's got to be great for the creator too. To get that kind of appreciation for your art. So gotta love it.
And Russ,
Yeah, so I guess we're just waiting this week now on the fallout from yesterday. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just want to see the omnibus get put out. I don't care who does it.
it'll come out. It's inevitable. Now, what publisher does it and helps him out with that, I do not know. But I'm also lining up Hex Allen.
Oh, okay. It's always good to have heck.
Yeah, we'll have him on next week. This week is kind of full, and he's out on the West Coast. But so if you'd like to be on the show, just reach out, DM me.
There you go.
Definitely. We'll have on most people, even FBI and informants, and I don't know. We've had some surly types on here before, and we've handled them. Pow, in and around.
There you go.
We don't take any guff around here, right? I mean, I think we purport ourselves professionally, right? And
I think so for the most part.
handle all problems as they come, right? Off the top rope. Oh,
That's right. Oh, Carrie's
now,
asking if Jiminy said anything.
no, he has not yet. I'm not sure when the last time I was that I actually reached out to him. Actually, I'm kind of saving that. I'll contact him here pretty soon. I hope that Dan Lawless can come on with us and have a Conan live a draw stream. And then we'll, of course, if Jimmy wants, that was initially his idea. So if he wants to do it over on his channel, I'll defer to him, and we'll go do it over on his channel.
There you go.
Everybody should be subscribed to Jimmy Reyes for sure. If you're not, Dragon Rage.
No,
I think last time we looked about
I was talking.
35,000.
Carrie was talking about
close to 40.
Jiminy Cricket, not Jimmy Reyes.
Oh, Jiminy Cricket. Okay. No, I have not reached out to Jiminy. We have had him on the show once before. Would like to have him on again. Absolutely. I will reach out to Jiminy. And we'll see what he's been up to. Now, while we're waiting on Russ, and hopefully he'll show up, right? He was assured me that he would be here, so I know it's going to be late for him because, well, it is the internet and it is the UK that he lives in.
Right.
Let's watch his Only Death Can Save Us trailer.
There you go.
On Choppy Ass Theater.
20 billion years ago, as the Second Age gave way to the Third, one last great war raged between Satana's forces of cruel chaos, who had ruled for a sliver of eternity, and the forces of order, who sought to remake things anew. The Supreme called her warlords the Pillars of Creation. Their purpose was not to bring apocalypse, but to welcome forth the new age. Over time, their true purpose would be forgotten, for such is the fate of legends, and only their names would be remembered. War, famine, pestilence,
Yeah, Hyper Wizard Jake.
and death.
Damn, I love demons. Wretched things.
You preach to the converted, brother. Their vile number seems limitless.
Hey, Eric.
6,600. 366 by my count.
Hell, Eric.
They have numbers, aye, but their arrogance will yet be their undoing. Mark my words, brothers.
You speak true, Sister Pestilence. Even now, our mistress builds a prison to house them. A prison of love. She asks only that we lead them there. This is the word.
Then let us draw
Great,
succor from it.
great voice acting.
Yeah, it is.
And thus it came to pass that the third age began with the vanquishing of evil and the renewal of life. But evil is patient. It clings to the dark places and waits for its moment to strike.
We shall know glory this day, my brothers.
What was won that day was a battle, not the war. That would come later.
Very cool.
I agree. He's going for that Bronze Age sensibility of artwork.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, I've heard him say that.
Oh, it's
That's what he's shooting for.
it looks like he's hitting the target.
Action and adventure. We come as it used to be. Bid Death side. Sign up exclusively at Indiegogo. For only death can save us.
I wish that had been a little clearer at the end, a little bit more
Yeah,
discernible.
it was a little distorted there, but that's all right.
Yeah. Eric
We
says
shall know glory this day, my brothers.
yeah, and that was
Yeah,
the
good looking campaign.
that was the first campaign that is sadly gone now, closed out. But yeah, let me see if I can get this. There we go. He did $14,392, 271 backers. That's a crime, really. It ended in November 1st, the day before my birthday, 2020. Of course,
Yeah.
it was in demand for a long time. Bronze Age inspired a cosmic fantasy romp. Only Death Can Save Us. Closed now on Indiegogo, and the second one is closed as well. Only Death Can Save Us Book 2, Techstone. It did a little bit less. It did 12,753 with 217 backers. So I would say most of those backers, though, did return. I don't know if he did as much as far as add-ons. So that can be, it could have been done about the same amount for what was offered, right? That's sometimes.
Oh, I didn't see the Twitter poll yet, Gary.
Hard to determine. We'll watch the trailer here in a second for the second book that just closed out at some point. Hope everyone has voted for Doc's Golem on Twitter poll. I did. I did see that when it came out, and I did vote for the Golem, and the Golem was leading way ahead in it. So I think the Golem's probably going to win for sure. I was very pleased to see that. Now, Only Death Can Save Us, and we'll talk if we talk to Russ today.
Yes.
He was involved in that scam, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think he was one of the guys that was supposed to put his book on that. I can't remember the name of the deal now, but it was the Spencer's infamous Spencer's distribution deal.
Yeah. Now, was that like a chapter? What was that? Was that like a partial issue of Only Death Can Save Us, kind of a sampler?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he broke it up into like single issues for that particular thing. I'm not real sure on that one.
Okay.
I did get that though, so I do. I think it was like floppy stuff, if I'm correct.
Right. That's why I say I think it was a little less than the full size issue 1.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think they broke it up into like maybe 3 or 4 books that they were gonna do over there
right. Now you
for the
backed
tour.
both, didn't you? The first Only Death Can Save Us, or did you?
Yeah, I believe I did, and then
Yeah,
like I said, I backed the what was it called, the comebacks or whatever it was for the
right.
campaign for the guys that got screwed.
That was the
Um,
floppy. Yeah.
mm,
Did you enjoy it? Have you read it? Did you thumb
um,
through
I
it?
I don't think I've actually got to read the whole thing yet, but I did. I always look through them when I get them, and the artwork is beautiful.
Oh, it is, and I mean, this is one book that I've coveted to get, and hopefully he'll go and have a second chance offer, a catch up tier over on Fund My Comic or something. I do want to get this. This is one of the books that I've desired to get since 2020, and have
Right.
not been able to. Just have not, had the resources to do because I've put it elsewhere, Mr. Vic King and other places.
Hmm.
Got to get my book. Got to get my books done. Let's watch the
That's
trailer.
right.
The second issue.
Right.
That one character, Chrissy, looks like Conundrum somewhat. That
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
just a little bit. It's the purple, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Andy Smith's character. Yeah. I wish I'd gotten my T-shirt. I did back you, Andy. Taxi Man Forever. Assemble.
Right.
Well, considerably shorter trailer on this one, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. He might have put the first trailer on this campaign as well to view. I'm not sure. I'll have to look here. But some killer looking art work.
Oh yeah.
Let's take a look at the second book that came out. Look at that, man. Tentacles in space, right? Space
There you
Kraken.
go.
Yeah.
Heck
I
yeah.
mean, look, Kirby Crackle. I mean, it's hard to beat Kirby Crackle. Oh, some 6 a.m. stickers. I hope we can get him on. That's for kind of like Four Horsemen of Apocalypse. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit.
Look at that painted piece.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's gorgeous looking stuff, and compelling looking characters. I know
Hmm.
Red Valkyrie had him on back in the day. I think so. I do agree with Red that skull like characters. This reminds me of Overlord or whatever he was in Spawn with the cybernetic eye.
Yeah, yeah.
Overkill?
Overkill.
Overkill, yeah. Yeah. Little almost like Lord of the Rings or what's the ones with the green? They even made a movie out of it. It was a game that was popular that had
Oh,
green orcs or
Warcraft or something.
Warcraft. Yeah, kind of a little Warcrafty in there, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe it's the color green, your favorite color, by the way. Look at
Yes,
that
sir.
character. Good,
Oh, very cool.
Marvel inspired cosmic looking entity there.
Yeah, very cool looking.
Yeah. Look at that. Little gray toning. And he works traditional. I wonder if he works digital because some of that right there look digital, but look at those pencils, man. Spikes and lining them up and getting the look right are not easy, folks. You can see
No,
he
yeah,
put it on a grid there, a curved grid, but he's just got a great style. Look at that character, man.
yeah, that's cool.
Reminds me of Dreadnought or something that Iron Man would have came up against,
Yeah, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We didn't really look at the artwork on the first campaign. So let me go back to the first campaign here real quick. They're both closed on Indiegogo. I hope he'll have a second chance offer.
Yeah, hopefully he'll come over to fund my comic and
Oh, look, another trailer.
well, how's that?
Just a teaser.
Only death can save us.
Oh, this is the
Bronze
first
Age
trailer.
inspire cosmic fantasy realm, bringing together action and pathos as the ancient elemental known as death leaps from his ethereal retirement to help a young soul protect her loved ones, a world, and even existence itself.
Action and adventure, the way comics used to be. Be it Death's Side. Sign up exclusively at Indiegogo, for only death can save us.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
So we'll have Hex on Alan on. I believe we set up Wednesday. On the 4 o'clock shadow of next week. Nephilim Squadron.
Cool.
Eric says, "Did you pay for a T-shirt and not receive it?" Yes. But there wasn't enough orders done on the campaign, so I got a refund. Okay, here's some artwork. No, another. Let's take a look. On Choppy Ass Theater. I need to apologize to Russ.
Hi there, welcome back to the dojo. I'm Russ Leach and the comic book black belt, and this is, I think, it's the 4th in a series of videos that's they're basically cataloging the work that I'm doing on my new book, Only Death Can Save Us. So the first couple of episodes, they're about, pulling the trigger, getting on and doing something, coming up with a storyline and the idea for that. And also about marketing and like, doing things like your website and what have you, and how important it is to just get the message out there. And this is specifically about characters and character design, the visual aspects rather than so
he
much
is
of
working
the,
digitally.
of the world building and story aspects. But obviously they all sort of come together as one. The characters have to fit in the world, and the story has to work with them. What you're seeing on screen and what you'll see right the way through this video is a turnaround of Death. It's my first initial pencils and then through to some playing around with some color work and a finished turnaround. Lots of people do their character development and studies in many different ways. There's some illustrators and designers and creators will make lots and lots of
Evening, Gable.
thumbnails, and they'll come up with lots and lots of ideas, and that is it's a good way of doing things because you're iterating through designs and concepts. These designs that I've put together specifically for D.
I like that he calls him D.
Yeah,
he has a Dr. Doom feel to him with the cloak and just the body mass and the wrappings, right?
Oh.
And the belt across the chest and around his waist. He kind of has a Dr. Doom look, doesn't he? Nothing? Really? Shadowhawk? No comment? Oh, well. Left hanging in, folks. Here we go.
Yeah.
They're very much based in the world and the concept I have.
Did you put that on the blooper reel? What do you think, Shadowhawk? Little Dr. Doomish?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I do like that he's kind of he's massive, right?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He looks like he could, as far as his power set, that he could take on a Pit or a Hulk, or something.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he appears to be pretty, physically impressive.
That's harsh, Eric. Let's see. Why are you so mean to me, Eric? Gable says. I wonder why. Wonder.
Had for the whole book, the book as a whole. So they
Nah, my
came to me
internet
quite
dropped for a
quickly,
minute.
and actually I'd been thinking
Ah,
about them for a long time, so didn't need to do lots of iteration thumbnails.
don't let it happen
Um,
again.
First off, death
Yes,
is a
sir.
very recognizable, so
Easier
he
said
had to
than
have
done. Huh?
some kind of a
Yeah.
skull-like head. And then on top of that, the whole concept for the book is a very cosmic Bronze Age, Marvel Bronze Age, Kirby-esque environment. The whole span of the backdrop to the first story, where Dee and Chrissy, get together to become the partnership that they'll be in the adventures they move forward into, and the whole arc of it, as it were, which there is behind the whole thing. What's going on behind all that is very much a massive cosmic sort of environment where I consider things like quantum physics and pseudosciences.
Now wait, you can't put that into comics. That's highbrow stuff.
Gonna blow people's brains.
Gable wants to know, Carrie, if you can ask Eric to drop the restraining order against him. I wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it at all. Drop it instantly.
Metaphysics, all kinds of wild and wacky stuff that go in there. But the idea is big and expansive, and it just sits behind the very. I think it's a very personal story between Dee and Chrissy, and how their relationship develops, along with the story, the running story, not just the arc, but the story of the battle that they have against Satana, who is the bad guy. So all that being said, my characters kind of almost made themselves to a degree, because I had two things that I was coming at with the characters. First, Death himself, or D. Obviously, there's a recognizable aspect to them. So I wanted a hood. That's the first thing. Also, there's a skull involved. So that's the first aspect of that. But also the
showed up for
Warriors
it,
of
Gable.
Light,
That'd
the
help.
Pillars of Creation, or the Four Horsemen that appear
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
sorry
start of the
about that,
book,
Gable.
and do
I
have
don't know what I was doing.
some role in the story moving forward later on in the arc. I wanted to give them that kind of Kirby-esque, Buscema, Bronze Age, cosmic feel, and also
What is Buscema? Is that a creator? Buscema? Nothing. Okay. Internet
that,
dropped out. Buscema. He says Kirby-esque Buscema feel. What is
Oh,
Buscema?
okay. Buscema. Okay.
What is Buscema?
Buscema? John?
Oh, is that what he's saying? Okay.
I'm assuming, yes.
Yeah, okay. I got it. All right. Kirby-esque and Buscema look. Okay. Buscema. You say potato, I say potato. You say
right.
tomato, I say tomato.
And he is now. Is Russ in the UK, or is he in Australia?
He's in UK.
Mm-hmm. UK. Okay. So I mean, he may not have gotten the right pronunciation.
Ooh, does that mean I get cream bucks? That would be awesome. I get some cream bucks. I showed up and greeted everyone.
Them a kind of a pantheon of the gods feel, so more Asgardian than Guardians of the Galaxy, say. More mythological than Star Trek. So even though at the core of it all there are some scientific concepts, I definitely wanted a sort of an air of Dungeons and Dragons and sort of Lord of the Rings in space, almost, with modern scientific concepts applied to it. So bringing that all round, as I was saying, all these things flooded into the whole idea of how my characters would look. That pantheon of gods aspect. So I wanted buckles, I wanted spikes, I wanted shoulder pads and leather or some kind of armor, garments, and those kind of things. One of the other characters, which I'll show in another video. The next video, what I'll do is I'll put all the other characters in so you can see those guys, and also the demon horde, how I put together those demons and the characters that came from that. But they all have this kind of godlike appearance. So there's lots of chainmail, there's lots of leather, there's tunics and spikes and shoulder pads and that kind of thing. So that was the direction I wanted to go in, and that's how how my concepts, how the cosmic concepts and the pantheon of god concepts all came into fruition as far as the visual look and perception of D and of the other characters that go with D. Chrissy herself, she's an ordinary girl, and without giving too much of the story away, her appearance will change, but it's kind of right at the end of the story. So I'm probably not going to be able to show you any of the concept work behind Chrissy straight away. What I'll do is I'll put a video up once the book is launched, because there's a twist in the tale, and the big part of or aspect of that twist is the relationship between Dee and Chrissy and what happens to them over the course of the first book. And then that has a direct influence over where that takes the next couple of books and where the arc goes from there on. So although you can see, although this video is very much about the physical design and look of, in particular, Dee's character, coming to the physical qualities of the character very much came from the story, very much came from what had been written. So if you're working as an artist with a writer, you definitely want to be involved in the conceptualization of the characters.
Absolutely. I like that he used primary colors for the primary character, Shadow.
Yeah.
The red and blue. I think it always works.
Oh,
Skull
yeah.
compelling, It's a compelling looking character, man. I like that he's one of the few out there that is going for a Bronze Age sensibility. I can name multiple campaigns that are going for that 90s image look, and I don't have a problem with that. But there's not a lot of people going for the Bronze Age, more popping, flat color, not as dark and convoluted. I know those aren't great descriptive words for coloring, because there is some wonderful looking modern coloring that can be done. I really think when it comes to coloring, we're not living up to our potential in comics. I think we really need some colorists to jump in there, especially digitally, because there's a lot of lighting effects, a lot of shading effects that just aren't being used. I think maybe the creators, when they get with the colorists, they're willing to settle on the colors, and the colors are paramount if you're going to make it a color comic, to really make it pop and give it volume and weight. And
you need to have, nice.
It's all about painting and light. I think we can learn a lot from Rembrandt. That's what I mean. Not only his technique, but just knowing the light sources and how light is reflected and bounces off things. And it just I don't think a lot of colorists have a good grasp of that. And some of them have a better grasp of it than like Kyle Ritter.
Kyle's really good.
Than the artist, because he really does light. I think a lot of his stuff is pretty saturated at times, but he's got a lot to work with there. He's good at enhancing and bringing out and not covering up a lot of the details that Ethan lays down. Um, I'd really had to take a better assessment of it and look through some of those books, as I'm sure you have. Have you actually read your Cyber Frog books?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you jumped on that
Yep.
pretty quick.
Yeah, those I read those as soon as they come in.
How was Wrecked Planet?
Very good. Very good.
Better than the first? Much
Well,
better?
from what I've seen,
Yeah.
I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, it's
Well, I mean, story wise, right? It was,
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, because
No,
there was
Ethan is definitely developing more as a writer.
leveling up. Yeah.
Yeah, his writing is just getting better and better. So
Eric and Boyd says Charlie's London just posted on Twitter an update. She said she is going to the fracture clinic tomorrow. I hope she will heal well. Absolutely.
yeah,
I
so,
sent her a get well
yeah,
message.
we'll put out
Hopefully
some
you can stream
prayers
some,
for Charlie.
Eric, and show some of it off. I wonder if this is going to delay her book coming out. I imagine it would, huh?
I don't know. It depends, I suppose, how close she was to getting everything put together.
Hey, if I've not backed it, I mean, oh God. I mean, I remember I took like my last big check of that season to back one or maybe second to last. I was not going to miss out, and had been in demand for a while.
Yeah.
And
And you
and it's
ended up
like
getting the full box set on that one, right?
I did plus because they didn't include the ink spots colored version of the cover with that, and I
Ah,
had to buy that separate, which I was kind of piffed about because you're paying separate shipping.
mm-hmm.
I thought it should have been included, but yeah, I got everything the campaign had to offer, and I plan on doing it this year too. But I'm always, when it's in demand, it's like, yeah, they could shut this down at any minute. I got to get this, if I really want it, because it will
Right.
never be offered again. And with that, you get original artwork as well, like sketch
Mm-hmm.
cards, done by who's the little guy with the bird? He'll kill me when he hears this, if he
The
hears.
little guy with the bird.
Yeah, he does the little cartoon bird. He posts on Twitter all the time, like the stuff he's doing.
Oh God.
You don't know?
No, not offhand, dude. That's not ringing a bell. I don't
Okay,
remember.
he was the same artist I think that did for the first campaign.
Wow.
Eric and Boyd throwing it down say, well, you're welcome to pitch, Gable Penny Shot. But now if I like something, I may claim it for my own. Subsequently, I won't give you a dime. Not a dime, I say. You're for your ideals.
Well, at least you guys got that straightened out.
Yeah, Mr. Muck. I mean, and he has other creations. We'll have to have Eric on here. I promise not to talk over him. Well,
Not much anyway.
not much. Too bad.
But yeah, I just got the message from Eric today. Apparently, things are coming along nicely on the commission I asked him for, so I can't wait to show you guys that when it gets there.
Would it be Mr. Muck or is it a salamandroid?
It's actually both. I sent Eric a alternative blank sketch cover, and I'm gonna
That's right.
do Mr. Muck on the front and Salamandroid on the back.
Wrap around, yeah.
Wrap around, right?
Salamandroid's such a big character. He deserves to,
Yeah, he needs a
have.
page of his own.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Let's continue on with this.
If you can be, and definitely you want to be coming up with concepts and visual working drawings so that you can get a real idea about what's under the hood of those characters and how they would feel and how they might physically manifest themselves as well as their costumes. I think that's very important to get that that character in the way that you draw them. It's not just about, you know, where the sword is or whether what the boots look like when you're doing turnarounds. You're actually investigating the character to a degree as well.
I like that he's doing a model
As you can
sheet.
see, what
pretty
I
much.
did was I
Yeah,
put together
very
the
much.
pencil work for the turnaround, but I
You
also
had to
started
do
playing
that.
with just some loose brush colors, just to get an idea of what I wanted. This is it is a sort of a leather concept on D, but at the same time, I wanted bright colors because the Bronze Age concept was also about the look and feel of the pages and how the art would look and how the story would come across. So I did want bright colors, and as you can see when I start showing you the final colors on the turnaround, I wanted flat colors. So and when I say flat, I say like two-tone, you know, shadowing and maybe the odd light area, but mostly it's like kind of flat colors because they're very bold and brash. And I wanted a particular look to the way the book was. So that's kind of my journey as far as creation of the characters, creation of their costumes, and how they kind of present within the pages.
You know, I need to consider, you know, some Bronze Age coloring really, you know, for
It's not,
present
yeah, not a
times.
bad idea.
You know, because it really
Especially,
is bold and it pops right off the
yeah,
page.
and I think it'll work well with Devil Flyer as well, right? So, the Bronze Age kind of
Yeah,
aesthetic to the colors, that would work pretty nicely with a lot of your characters. Oh,
yeah.
and Carrie, I am working on a project. Hopefully, I'll have it out by next year. But it is not a comic book. I don't think Mr. Valentino would be happy with me if I did that.
Yeah, things are copyrighted, right? Trademark.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So no Shadowhawk comic book in the future, but there will be
But
a Shadow project.
after that, you come on to a very much a technical production
Absolutely, there
issue
will be.
of you really do want to produce turnarounds. So
It's already in the works, just going
when
quiet.
you're in the middle of your pages, when you're actually drawing stories, you don't have to come up with the concept or fill in any gaps that there might be. You know exactly the way somebody looks. You know exactly the way your character looks and presents, and so it leaves you free to just get on with the flow and the movement of the story, and so you don't have to worry about exactly, you know, where a buckle goes or where a pad goes or what have you. Now
He's doing all the work himself, but if you did want another artist to do, say, like a backup story for you, these model sheets are invaluable,
Oh yeah,
especially
for
with
sure.
complex characters like this.
hmm
I
And
mean,
you
it's
want,
not
you
just a
want your
boot,
artist to
but
be
it's
on model.
like a steel-toed, you know, steel-toed boot. He's even got a round thing around the ankles. He's got a spike, a horn on the,
Hey, get him.
you know, which direction does the spike go? Because that is a curved spike on both the feet.
Right.
I like his gloves that have the Ghost Rider like spikes on them on the
hmm
knuckles. If you get hit by him, that's going to hurt. Put out an
Oh yeah.
eye, break a jaw. I don't know. It's
Shoot, he might just crush your whole head. That dude's got a big old hand.
oh yeah, definitely.
Be like getting hit by George Foreman or something.
George Foreman was a piker compared to death here.
Yeah,
some
probably.
people like to produce character designs as they go, and it was very much the case that when I did Doctor Who, I had to do quite a few aliens like on the fly, a lot of aliens in crowds actually on the fly, but even because we couldn't use things like Daleks and what have you from the actual show, because we
Uh-oh.
had to stay
Somebody
within
knows
the canon
Doctor
and
Who.
at the same time produce new
Yeah, he said he was
stories.
doing some work on a
Often
Doctor
we
Who
came
book.
up with different villains,
Oh, really?
and I'd have to come up with
Yeah,
a
I
look for
didn't
every one of
realize that.
those, and I
That's
didn't
pretty
have
cool.
time to conceptualize those villains. I just had to get on and draw them in the pages, and there are lots of people that really enjoy doing that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. Like I say, with all the videos that I'm producing, this isn't here to teach you anything as far as this is the way you must do stuff. This is hopefully some kind of self-teaching where you get to see the way I do it, and if it works for you, that's great. And if it doesn't work for you, then you know that doesn't work, and you can put it to one side. So it's just an insight into the way that I produce stuff. So there are artists and creators that like to produce on the fly. I personally don't like to do that. I can do it, and sometimes I do it when I shouldn't. But I much prefer to have a turnaround and to have an absolute concept, an absolute idea of exactly what I need to be drawing, where everything is on a costume or on a character, and then I can get on with the movement and the flow of the story.
A lot of artists are like that. Ryan James is kind of like that, you know.
Yeah.
Like he likes a clear concept of what he's going to be doing. Where did you hear that about the Doctor Who work that he was doing? It seems
He
like
just said it, but he said it a minute ago, and he said when I was working on Doctor Who, I had to draw a lot of aliens.
Oh, okay. So this is something he's probably already done, right? Oh, yeah. In
Yeah,
his past.
he was speaking of in the past. So
Yeah. Before this project came out. Oh, I almost forgot, Showhawk. My stitches came out.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. Early today, I spit one out in the commode, and then I was outside with Abby and spit a few more out.
Oh, okay. Are you all right though? It hasn't started bleeding again or anything, has it?
No.
Okay,
Still
good.
sore. I mean, tomorrow will be a week since I've had the teeth pulled, and it's been a journey, but yeah, we're getting over it.
Should be feeling better here soon.
Yeah. Well, let's finish this up. Only likes a little bit more, and we'll take it from there.
So what I'll be doing from here on in is posting little bits and bobs onto the website, including this turnaround that I'm doing here. So at any point in
Hell
time,
Tank.
people can go to the Only Death Can Save Us website and check out the latest imagery that I have to post. There'll also be an updated preview file as well pretty soon, where I've put together a few corrections from my editor Tim Quinn, and also some suggestions from other writers.
That's a great name, Tim Quinn.
Waystorm was very kind and produced a little review of my preview, and he came up with some very good suggestions, which I've incorporated.
If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button, people.
So, like I say, I'll be updating that page, those pages, especially the character design pages or character bio profile pages, so that you can see
what a shit show, huh?
The characters flesh out as I get closer and closer to a production finish date. That's about it for this video. Like I say, in the next video for this series, I'll be back to outline some of my designs for the Demon Horde, for Satana, and for the other characters. It won't show quite as much as this one. I'll focus just on the sketch work, I think, rather than the turnarounds. But then I'll put the turnarounds up on the website as I've just discussed, and hopefully it will be of some use to other people, to you guys out there who are watching, to see how I produce my book, my characters, my stories, and it might hopefully be helpful for when you're producing your own. So that's it for now. It'd be really good if everybody liked this. So likes are great. Sharing the video is really, really useful. Anybody out there who would like to subscribe, I would be honored if you'd do that. Once again, I'm going to bore everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed
Howdy.
to my channel. There's been a few more subscribers, even though I've been light on content of late. That will be changing. But thank you so much for subscribing, and thanks to everyone for taking the time to watch my videos and listen to what I've got to say, and hopefully it's of some use and of some help to your own productions and your own creations and projects. And if you can, hit the subscribe button, but also
name Death, Deff, aka Death Grim Reaper. So he has a lot of names for this main character.
Yeah.
Go over and join the email list, and you can get that anywhere from the description below this video right the way through to all my other websites. That's russleach.com.
This is on the first campaign, as a matter of fact.
There's links there for the email list, and that really is the way for me to get in touch with you and show you what's going on. And I won't be filling your inbox up with rubbish. It will all be relevant, and it won't be often. It will be just enough to keep you up to date with what's going on. And also, if you can, go to my Instagram.
Oops, sorry about that.
Profile.
I tried to click on it.
That's just Russ Leach over at Instagram, and that would be really good if you could follow there. And what I will be doing is I'm already posting my previous work up there, some Marvel and Doctor Who stuff. And
wow, Marvel and Doctor Who.
But I will be posting up more and more Only Death Can Save Us stuff as I go along, so you'll be able to follow along and see me penciling and inking pages and that kind of stuff. So I think that's just about all from me on this video. Just thanks again for joining me in the dojo today, and I'll be back with another video again real soon. Bye-bye.
Instagram.com /leach.russ, Twitter.com /comic black belt.
That's Russ is in the back room, bro.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, that finished up just fine.
Hi there, guys. So sorry I'm late. I really apologize. I've been stuck out in the car, and I've just got back in. So
no problem.
Mechanical issues.
No problem. We were showing your old video from your first campaign.
Oh, right. Okay.
On the turnarounds on the model sheets. That's
right.
That's kind of key, isn't it? To keep on model.
Yeah. It's important to do your groundwork before you launch heavily into getting a book done. Yeah.
Well, this is my co-host, Shadow Hawk.
Hi there, Shadow.
Nice to meet you, Russ.
Yeah, nice to meet the two of you. Again, apologies.
He has backed your book, and look, I really like there. I can find a million projects out there that go that even advertise. I want that 90s sensibility, that image look, but there's few creators out there like yourself that is saying, I want to bring back the Bronze Age. That's when I started, was like around 1976, full-time collecting. And so I caught the half of the Bronze Age, and then the great 80s stuff as well when it went to direct market. But now you grew up differently. You had a different spinner rack or shelving than we did on your comics. Because where did you grow up, Russ? The UK?
Yeah, in the UK.
So and your comics are a little bit different, right? Little Captain Britain, like
how beautiful
something like this, maybe.
I just literally a couple of weeks back, I bought myself a full set of Captain Britons.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're not as pristine as those ones, but literally just for reading copies, because I love having the originals. I'm not much for buying books and then sticking them in plastic and
after my own heart.
I like having them up on the rack. I'll show you quickly. I've got just up in front of me. I've got a big collection there.
Yeah, omnibuses I see.
Down by the side of me, as
Yeah.
well. There's the monkey butt, but yeah, there's loads of stuff down there as well. And then up for inspiration, I've got at the moment I've got quite a bit of Buscema up on the wall. So yeah, I'm big into having stuff available for me to read rather than in plastic bags or away in cages or cupboards or what have you. And yeah, I've got lots of old essentials over there, as well as masterworks and what have you.
Have you ever seen some Buscema preliminary drawings before?
Yeah, some of his
that it would put on the light box.
Is that an original?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. If you got about 2 hours, I can show you a lot more.
God, look.
I do have more. I actually have some artwork from his very last project.
Really? Which one was it? Was that the?
That was DC's Blood of My Ancestors, an
Right.
Elseworld comic.
Right. Wow.
I'll show it here in a minute. Let me just grab
What
it.
What a guy what an artist that man was.
He took over for Gil Kane when he passed away on the project.
Right. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Gil Kane passed away. Here it is. And sort of Samson-like, you know.
Oh,
with the pillars.
wow. Look at that. Yeah. That's
This
so
was
him, isn't it?
this was Gil Kane and John Buscema's last work, and I have some preliminary drawings by Buscema from this. In fact, I have a video, John Buscema's last work or something on my channel. But yeah, I've got more Buscema stuff than anyone else. In fact, I'm talking with a fellow countryman of yours, Glenn Fleming, on putting together a John Buscema book featuring all the work that I have, that a friend of mine has, which is similar preliminary drawings that he would light box and then do those last issues of Savage sort of Conan from. But we have a lot of sketches and stuff, and he would sign a bunch of these, you know.
Well, when you put that together, I'll definitely be buying a copy.
Yeah, and it won't be all it won't be all Conan. We also have another one planned, Jack Adler. Now he may be unfamiliar with you, but he actually worked in the printing of Action Comics #1. Wow. He was the vice president of production at DC Comics from like 1952, I think, on up. Now, I don't know if he started out as vice president, but he hired people like Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson, Mike Kaluta, a lot of the mainstays of the Bronze Age he hired. And a lot of people don't know about him. He was a colorist. And he brought in the gray toning of the 60s, like in Sea Devils. And so I have a lot of what he saved as far as production art of covers, of DC covers from the mid 60s all the way up to 1983.
Beautiful.
And like approval covers or color guides. Russ, I got to share this with you because I think you'll appreciate it.
Go for it.
This is the you like some Kirby Crackle, you like some Jack Kirby. He is the king of comics, is he not? Here is the color guide, the one and only color guide to Avengers #4.
Wow.
So this, you'll only see this here because this is a one and only.
You have some amazing. What a collection! Wow.
Yeah. Well, I got to get me some Russ Leach. And who knows, I might have some in my collection and not even know it. Because you worked for Marvel and Doctor Who.
Yeah. I've been I did Doctor Who Adventures 2015 to 2018, I think.
Wow.
I did a run on Doctor Who magazine when they bought the strip back because over the COVID era, they took it out. But then they brought it back, and when they brought it back, I was on the creative team for the first year. And I've just done a special for them as well, which is for this Doomsday thing. So I did a 16-page special.
Cool. Are you distressed at the way Doctor Who's kind of went?
Doctor Who, Doctor Who. The biggest problem I personally felt with Doctor Who was that they made it drama instead of a kids program. There
And
you go.
when would you say they did that?
They did that about.
With the
They
new
did it.
Who?
They did it. Yeah, it was New
Eckerson?
Who. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
2005. I
No,
think it
I mean
started.
it was still family orientated, I think then,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
still more of a broad spectrum.
Uh-huh.
But they started forcing it into BBC drama, and I think sort of around 2010, 2012, and it's like it went from there, and then they started putting it on at different times. They put it on at odd times of the evening. It wasn't on regularly. And
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
I personally, I think it managed to shoot itself in the foot. So no matter what changes they made with actors and all other kinds of stuff that they were doing, they were making it hard for themselves. And
Yeah.
so, for instance, eventually we had to stop Doctor Who magazine, Doctor Who Adventures magazine, because kids weren't picking it up. Because kids weren't into it.
Drama
So,
sell though?
Yeah.
not the kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's like BBC. It was like
But with
I grew up with
with
Doctor Who being a sci-fi thing that
right.
you hid behind the sofa when you were a kid, and you
Yeah.
watched
Yeah.
it with your mum and dad. Do you know what I mean? It was
And
like it was for everybody, but it
was
was a
it
kids show, really.
was
You
it
know,
Tom Baker? Perhaps?
Tom Baker was my doctor. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
before
mine
him
too.
would be John Pertwee.
Are you
And
pro canine or?
I liked K9.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but you know, you can't take me as a any kind of judge, because I'm very shallow. I like
Yes,
to tell
this is
people
the
I am
famous
I'm
Russ
beautifully
Leach.
shallow, and I love explosions and aliens and all kinds of silly
Oh yeah.
CGI and special effects and
Don't
stuff.
tell me you're shallow, and then on that video we just watched, you're bringing in metaphysics and quantum theory and
Maybe I should say I'm easily entertained. How's that?
yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm easily entertained. Although there will be a point I won't go beyond. So, for instance, I'm easily entertained, but Star Wars broke itself. Okay,
Yeah.
like so, I'm not.
Well, so
I
many
like a bit of,
franchises did.
yeah, exactly. I like a bit of canon. I like self-referencing, but with the Star Trek stuff, I enjoyed the films when they rebooted the films.
I did
I actually
too.
quite enjoyed that stuff. Discovery, I
Yeah.
thought was a bit rubbish. So you know, it's almost like the companies, they mine themselves too far, and
Don't you think
and
that's
they
probably
don't have the
management?
same heart. Yeah,
Don't you
it
think
is.
that's management just
Yeah.
dipping in and saying we
Yeah.
need this, that, and that? And I
Yeah,
mean, it
The-
happened on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 with
Yeah.
the director, right? He
Exactly.
didn't have much say. They wanted Venom in there, and I thought, you know, you need to do the Ditko characters in order or something.
Yeah, do 'em in
Venom
order.
came much later in the 80s.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
and yet
it's just
the Venom film that they did more recently, I thought it was serviceable. It entertained
Yeah, it
exactly.
wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't terrible.
so I like a bit of canon. I like self-referential stuff. I think that's really clever and cool. But at the same time, if you give me a good story, I'm prepared to change. I'm
I want
prepared
to
to
show
move
you
with it.
this Buscema page and just look at the stuff that he stuck up there at the top. You know, this is what the look at this one panel where he punches him all the way down here, and it goes all the way up. You know,
Yeah.
the destruction. Now that is going against type there for a panel, for a first panel.
No, the
but
guy was
do
genius.
Do you ever work how to draw the Marvel way, right?
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was another thing I did for 4 years for Panini.
Oh wow.
And as a part work. So it was based on the idea of that original book by John Buscema and Stan Lee, but it was obviously nowhere near what that book is. That book's unique and is in its own way. But people tend to look at it and go, oh well, let's draw the Marvel way. So it's, you know, the wide gate and the big chest and what have you. But there are lots of good lessons in there for how to draw, and it's a unique volume and very, very special. And
Color
I would
adds
say
volume.
everybody should buy one.
Color and adds volume and weight to your
Yeah.
work, does
You can, yeah, without doubt. It's if you got a good colorist. I'd like. I spoke to John Higgins a while ago. Now, he's a fantastic colorist and also a great artist in his own right. And I think something. If you go back to the Bronze Age, you find that so many of the artists, whether they were inkers or colorists or pencilers, they were all artists in their own right. So they didn't restrict themselves to the one portion of what they did. And it shows through with the quality of the work from those days. I think
You got to
sometimes the tools are relied on too much these
you
days.
got to see a lot of black and white because a lot of your comics over there in the UK were black and white, right?
Yeah, an awful lot of black and white. 2000 AD, Star Lord, that kind of stuff. All the Commando war magazines.
And you got to
they're
see
great.
artists way before we did, like Dave Gibbons, Alan Davis, Brian Bollard. I
Brian
mean,
Bolland
all
again
those.
is a genius. He's a true genius. I mean, all three of those names are up there.
He
but
brings a
Bolland is
realism
amazing.
that was kind of a stepping stone after Neil Adams, and then
Hmm.
I think Alex Ross is the next step as well for realism within comics, somewhat.
Yeah, I think there's always this balance to be struck between the real and and the surreal, and I think the best comic book artists are those people that take impressionism to a height. So, for instance, if you look at Buscema's work, he was a master of anatomy and of our body language and weight. But you look at some of his work, the way he stretched people and the way he manipulated the body, and it's.
But Kirby did that too.
Yeah, Kirby did it as well. They all did.
Yeah.
So you have these people that are effectively impressionist artists through the medium of, comic books, and it's that's why comic books are ethereal, and why sometimes some of the modern artists in the mainstream, although they're fantastic artists, sometimes it seems a little bit stiff because it's like you're trying to create this beautiful illustration of a perfect representation of a person. It's like, no, that's not what comics are. Comics are almost a movie with a strobe light on. You know, they're like,
is that why
it's
manga
constant action?
Is that why manga is so popular with the speed lines and everything? It has the fluid movement.
I think what manga has when it's done really well is energy, and that's what good comics thrive on.
Yeah, and you can kill that with a bad inker.
Yes.
You can even kill that with a bad colorist.
Oh yes, you can.
Oh
yeah.
And you can kill the momentum with a bad letterer.
Yes.
There's so many different steps to it. If it takes you out of the story, if it takes you out of the movie, if it takes you out of the play, if it takes you out of whatever you're listening to, the radio show or the TV program, you've lost your audience for a moment. And you want to keep that suspension of reality, don't you?
Yeah, as soon as you become disjointed, you
want to be double dip chocolate immersed in it, don't you?
That's right.
It is soap opera-ish, isn't it?
It is a little, but there's nothing wrong with that. A little bit of cheese. That's all good.
A little bit of cheese. Let me go get some crackers to go with that cheese. So you grew up, and your comics were like oversized magazine size. Just
that's pretty cool.
You had a different childhood from us, but can you show that again, Russ, before you put it away?
That's like so this is my book, so that's the standard comic size, US comic size, and this is a Batman magazine that I've been doing.
Wow.
And you can see that's roughly what size it is.
And that's through Panini, isn't it?
That's Panini, yeah.
So Panini does a lot of sticker books. I've seen a lot of sticker books.
They do all the football or soccer for you guys.
And And with your comics back in the day, I don't know if they still do it. The Doctor Who magazines as well. You would get a free promo, or a toy item or something to stick.
Yes, certainly. Yeah, on
Yeah,
the
a
Doctor Who
tattoo,
Adventures.
or
Yeah, Doctor Who
yeah.
Adventures magazine,
Mhm.
and in fact, on the front of the Batman stuff I'm doing as well, you get like little toys.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
cool.
now I noticed you don't have an Indiegogo up now. You had one, then you text on you was number two. You finished it. Is there any? Have you checked out Fund My Comic
That's
as
where,
a platform?
yeah, that's where I'll be going next.
Oh,
Oh, that's
What
cool.
I liked about Indiegogo was I actually liked the interface.
Mhm.
I also like the fact that you got the money. You didn't have to wait until the end of the campaign, and then they went up and tapped people up, and then added more for, and made it awkward for the consumer or for your backer. And I really liked Indiegogo for that. But I've been on and off. Been you go around the internet, you go around
Mhm.
YouTube, you go and listen to the people,
Yeah.
and I do try and take in lots of different viewpoints.
Will it be a second chance offer or something new?
No, something new.
Okay.
So I consider myself truly independent. That is,
Number three,
I'm
maybe.
not. Number three's coming. I'm not affiliated to anybody, so I do what I think is right.
Mhm.
Not what I think is going to please people as far as groups are concerned.
Mhm.
And Fund My Comic looks great. The reason I like Fund My Comic is because it's completely independent.
Tree Goblin says the BBC hates you, Russ.
How
And
do they?
is this the famous Russ? Yes, it is,
I,
Carrie.
I'm
She
not
says,
famous.
hello there, for a fellow Brit. She's over there in England as well. Russ,
Oh,
come on. We
yeah.
call it football. Wait, what team do
Football.
you support?
Uh, when I was, my mother comes from Newcastle, so Newcastle has been the team I've looked in on from time to time, but I've never been big on football really. I go down to the
Car-
dojo 3 times a week. I'm a karate man, so
okay. Carrie says us Brits need to call it football, not we're not posh soccer.
Very good.
Yeah. I
So
can't
yeah,
wait till 3 comes out because hopefully you'll have a catch up tier.
well, the plan is the plan
Don't
is that
divorce me before we've gotten
no,
to know each other.
the plan is that 3 will come out.
Yeah.
And I'd really like to do the equivalent of an essential of it and run the whole lot in a black and white thick version of it, so
Uh-huh.
people could catch up with that as well. All 3 books. So the first book is currently on Barnes and Noble and
Okay.
Amazon. So if anybody out there wanted one of the original crowdfunded books, I still
do.
have a few.
I
still
do.
have a few, and you can go to my website to get those.
Oh, okay.
If you want to get the re-edited version, that's available on Amazon. Book 2,
Can you
which
tell
I
us
do
what about
again,
you say re-edited? What do you
it's basically just it hasn't got all the same stuff that you had in the crowdfunded version. So anybody who bought a crowdfunded version gets a unique version. Okay, it's the only time that's ever going to be printed in that format, in that way, with that
Okay.
content. Okay, you still
Okay.
get the full story if you go to and go and get the re-edited one, but it's a different. So it means that if you backed me in the original crowdfunder, you get something that will never be repeated. Okay, I felt that was important.
Mhm.
And
You
then the
spruced it
book,
up a little bit with the editing?
yeah, what
The
we
director's cut?
It's a director's cut. There's a couple of extra pages in there because I went with
Ah. I want
Arrow.
everything you've produced on Death Can Save Us, Russ.
Well,
I want it now.
you can. I want it now. So
Yeah.
there were a couple extra pages that we did because we did some floppies with Arrow, but unfortunately that didn't work out quite the way I wanted to, which meant there were a few
Right.
more pages, and they went into the re-edited book. In
Now
the
that was
second,
only like about a chapter of the work, wasn't it?
that's
Like
right.
a
It was only a
floppy?
small
Yeah.
floppy. So it's a taster. So,
Yeah.
so that I can also send out because I've got some of those as well.
Well,
The
Shadow
second,
has number 1 and the floppy.
all right,
I don't know if
cool.
he got text on, but
But the second one is also going to Amazon and Barnes and Noble via New Haven as well. And then the third one will do the same thing. And I'll do pretty much the same format so that everybody gets a chance, all these things.
Now, what's the
like I
difference
say, you can still get book 1 and book 2 at my website. And then book 1 you can get on Amazon. Book 2 you'll be able to get on Amazon soon. There will be book 3.
Share that website out with us?
Yeah, I can. It's russleach.com.
Okay. All right.
You can just go there and you can go to the merch section, and there's all that stuff there.
Expect an order soon, Russ.
And that would be nice. Thank you. And the next book that I am on, I have been helping some other people out. I've been doing some layouts and stuff for other people. But the next book that you will see my work on, you can have a look at now if you like. I've got some penciled pages.
What is it about the Bronze Age that so intrigues you? Is it just that you grew up during that time and that it had something that the later books didn't?
I think
coloring.
I think it's probably just it's just the fact that I grew up reading books at that moment in time, and they touched
Rich Buckler.
You know,
Rich Buckler.
Rich Buckler.
Yeah, Gil Kane.
Yeah, I mean Gil, not so much Rich Buckler, but it been when I was a kid, late 70s, I picked up Captain Britain. Okay, and in Captain Britain, in that first initial run of 20 issues, whatever it was, 24 issues. Oh no, it was 39 issues. 39 issues, and in the first set, when they were still paper rather than going to this glossy magazine cover, they had Captain Britain. Okay, which was brilliant. It was cheesy and great. Okay. They had Fantastic Four with Buscema, with Joe Sinnott inking over the top, and it had Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. by the great Steranko. So, that was my initial. That was the first comic I ever bought with my own money as a kid. Okay, and I just lapped it up. Just that was like to have that as my first hit.
It transported you to a different world, didn't it?
Exactly. And those artists never left me. And so when it transferred, I think it was issue 24 or something, it transferred to glossy and black and white. The story was with Captain America and Captain Britain, and they put Buscema on Captain Britain with Palmer inking it, I think, for about 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah.
And it was just stellar stuff, absolutely stellar stuff, and that really shaped me. Those comics shaped what I wanted to be.
When did you know you wanted to do comics? Was it a slow progressive or
no? It was then. Yeah. In the 90s, I about 95, just before they did the Chapter 11 and sold off all the licenses, I submitted to Marvel. Back then, it was all snail mail and what have you. And I submitted to the new talent manager, John Louis Lewandowski. And I over a period of months, I got messages backwards and forwards. And he said, "Yeah, you're great. We'll have you," kind of thing. And we'll start putting your work around the editors. But it just never went anywhere for me. I never got any further than that. And I had a job, I had a wife and kids and what have you by the end of the 90s. Right. And so I ended up being an art director. And I did like point of sale and marketing and that kind of stuff. Then I ended up doing online catalogs and brochures. I built a library for Sony in Europe. It was their first online product library. So I went out the tech route. I had my own business and did a whole bunch of stuff with the travel industry. And then that came to a natural end in 2009, at which point I said, well, it's now or never, I've got to give it a go because I've always loved comics. So I gave it a go, and my wife is incredibly supportive. We sold up and we got a smaller house and got rid of the mortgage. And it meant that I could take risks and do different jobs. And one of the first jobs I did that actually didn't end up getting made into a graphic novel because he couldn't find a publisher. But I worked with a writer, and the writer ended up being the editor for Doctor Who Adventures magazine later in 2015, which is where I got my first break. So it was all about networking and getting out there and working with other people and doing stuff
and making the time available to do it, right?
Yeah, but but I was fortunate because I'd had that career up to that point, and we could kind of take that chance. And like I say, I got rid of a mortgage to do it.
Right.
So you know, I feel for younger people trying to get in to the business. It's really tough, but at the same time, I
Yeah.
mentioned this to someone the other day because of all this comics broke me and what have you. At the same time, you're personally responsible for what you do, and you need to remain agile and get out there and make a business for yourself. It's all about being a business.
And you
And
really have to put all your resources toward that goal, don't you?
yeah. I mean, I mean, the other thing I found myself doing is when I was drawing, and I did the submission in the mid-90s. I was trying to be Jim Lee because everybody was trying to be Jim Lee then,
Yeah.
and only Jim Lee can be Jim Lee. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And now Jim Lee has become the most extreme version of Jim Lee.
Yeah.
But I found that when I came back 20
He's
years
went
later,
over to the dark side.
yeah, when I came back 20 years later or whatever it was, I'd matured a huge amount, and it made a difference to my artwork. It also made a difference in the artwork that I consumed. So, for instance, back in the day when I was a little kid, I didn't actually like Kirby at all. Okay,
Yeah.
but once I matured and appreciated the true genius of the man, okay, it meant that I could open my eyes to all other kinds of artwork. And by opening your eyes to all kinds of different artworks and all kinds of different comics, you can start to build on your own talents and start to have more confidence in your own style and go for it. I mean, it's still difficult now. It's, you know, like being a comic book artist is like you're perpetually chasing squirrels. It's like, oh, that looks nice. I'll try and do that. And you can't do that. You must be inspired, but you must find your own path.
What genre do you prefer to work in? Sci-fi, action, adventure, hero, all over the place? What?
All over the place. It's telling a story that's what I want to do. I tell a story. Before I'm an illustrator, before I'm an artist, I'm a storyteller.
Is that the way it developed, or with you?
No. I mean, when I was obviously as I've matured, I've realized that's what's important.
Yeah.
As a younger artist, it was like I just want to draw the biggest, baddest piece of art I can possibly draw.
That's the way it happened with me.
Yeah.
Like in 2017, I was caregiving for a gentleman and he would be up and down during the night, and I had time on my hands, you know, awake. I couldn't go back to sleep because within 10 minutes he might wake me again.
Yeah.
So I started writing, and then I realized the power is really in the writing.
Yes, that's exactly it. I mean, when you team up with a writer, it's a two-way street. You know, they are comics, they are a visual medium, they are the best storytelling medium on the planet. Okay, because they're like a novel or prose, because they require your imagination, but at the same time they're visually stimulating, and you have to fill in the gaps. You fill in the gutters, as it were, between the frames.
You just hit upon something, Russ. Let's take horror movies. When you filling in the gaps and using your imagination is infinitely more satisfying, I think, to the reader than actually showing them the action and entombing that in concrete into one set image. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. You've got to try and formulate a story.
Hey, Glenn, we were just talking about you.
Oh, Glenn.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
Hey, Glenn.
You've got to try and. Sorry.
Go ahead, Russ. Sorry. No, go ahead.
You've got to try and formulate your story in a comic book, in a way that encourages the imagination of the reader. It's not all. You've got to do a lot of showing rather than telling, I think. It shouldn't be too verbose, but at the same time, you want to encourage the reader to to find their own imagination within the pages, within the panels.
Well,
So yeah,
just like
it's a
a movie
combination.
production, right? You could ask for the moon, but you have a budget to be
Mm.
able to create that. And whatever I ask you as the artist to really write, uh, and you have to be able to depict that in some way,
Well,
right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you
And
do. Yeah.
and so if I say it's easy for me to write as a writer to say I want a space station just outside the moon, but all that has to be created and drawn
Yeah.
and designed, doesn't it?
I believe a comic's budget is the talent of the artist.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where your budget limitations
If
are.
you ask that of George Perez, that liked to draw every character out there, and then when he was on Avengers, and it was like you said, a Jack Kirby cover, I was like, I want my George Perez, But now I look back at those and go, treasure the ones that Jack Kirby did do, in between.
I think what I do love, possibly the most about the comic books that I have, is the variation. So you can pick up a Jack Kirby comic and you can be impressed by the power and the energy. You can pick up a Bolland comic and just be impressed by the composition and the mood. You can pick up a Buscema comic and just be impressed by the body language and the emotion being brought over by the fantastic anatomy. And it is the best storytelling medium on the planet. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby caused a row in the golden age of comics, didn't he? Him and Joe Simon.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on that story.
With their style, I mean, Gil Kane said Kirby could make it pop off the. He tried to emulate Kirby and get it to pop, and I think, in my guesstimation, Gil Kane was probably the premier cover artist of the 1970s.
Gil Kane was fantastic
for Marvel.
Yeah,
he did everything.
He did his best work over at Marvel, I think.
But I've got an artisan edition of him, of the Spider-Man and Mobius story.
Oh,
Morbius, sorry, not Mobius,
Yeah.
Morbius, and that's just stellar
Yeah,
stuff.
Morbius is one of my favorite characters, especially when he was drawing him.
He drew him in such a way, didn't he? It's just
Tell us
like
what
when he
you.
was doing that swooping in with the fangs just hanging out.
Yeah.
It was
These
so
are your
powerful.
Conan pages, aren't they?
they're Cull the Conqueror.
Or Cole the Conqueror.
Yeah,
Okay.
who apparently we're not allowed to call him Cull the Conqueror, at least not on the
Or
front.
King Cole, right?
Not on the front cover, because apparently that's trademarked. But his Robert E. Howard's first 3 stories, that's 2 books and a prose, are out of copyright now. They're in public domain.
But now Conan, has become public domain over there, hasn't it?
So the Cull story is what we're going to be doing.
Okay. Now
and that's
you could really mix Cole and Conan, couldn't you, and sell it in the UK?
Oh no, you still can't get away with that, because
Still can't get away with
No, the Robert E. Howard estate won't let you do that.
They won't let you cross over universes?
Well, no, they just won't let you use it. It's not fully public domain. So, for instance, Cull, these first 3 books the first 3 stories are public domain, but the other stuff was reprinted in the 60s, so it isn't. But we wanted to do this because it's the first true sword and sorcery book. And it's always something I've fancied doing, and Randy Zimmerman wanted to do it as well. So this book, we're pretty sure that this will be on Fund My Comic. So as an answer to the question earlier, and
cool.
we'd like to put it in there.
Glenn Fleming says, as soon as you mention Jack Kirby and George Perez, I want to throw my pencils in the bin.
It's just, sometimes these people are just too good,
Well, George Perez, his artwork in Avengers, his early run, not even his polished stuff, made me a collector.
Yeah. Yeah.
That and I wanted the most for my quarter, right? It had a
Yes.
lot of characters. I didn't even realize at first, Russ, that even though it said continue next issue, it never got in my brain till I actually got the next issue, and that I knew that it was a continuation. And then I was hooked.
Oh
Russ
yeah.
is like, joy.
Yeah. It's
Joy,
yeah.
rapture.
We had fun with that in the UK. Just the way that the newsstand was with comics in the UK,
Uh-huh.
it could be very awkward to find yourself getting the next issue.
All right. Well, maybe it's just me, but this piece right here, I got a little bit of a Barry Windsor Smith feel. Or
So somebody
how do you?
said that to me the other day. Yeah, it's like I wasn't a fan of Barry Windsor Smith's Conan,
Really?
but
Okay.
I did really enjoy his Machine Man.
Hmm.
And I like I like Buscema's Conan, but obviously there's so many different inkers on it. Alcala was fabulous, but it's and Chan as well. Um,
Oh yeah, Ernie Chan did a
yeah.
lot.
So I'll be inking this, and then I'll be putting a wash on it as well, an ink wash for the
Yeah,
final
maybe
thing.
it's just the structure of the page or something. Just reminds me of a little bit
Yeah, I
of
mean,
the.
there's no. I mean, something else we were talking about when we were looking at it, and somebody said it the other day. It's just there are so many artists that go into inspiring you.
Oh,
And
sure,
I
sure.
do remember, reading a lot of the Savage Sword of Conan, Barry Windsor Smith stuff when I was a kid. So it's no doubt that he's buried in there with all the other artists.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
his
he's down
style
there somewhere.
changed on that Machine Man limited series in the early '80s. It really changed, I think,
Mm.
and leveled
Oh
up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
He
yeah, I think that's probably why I enjoyed that series so much, because he did level up
yeah.
at that point.
Well, I think
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
really I mean, as good as he was with Conan and everything, which I loved his stuff, but like when he did the kind of technological, futuristic stuff,
Yeah.
he really shined on that.
Yeah, because it was
Well,
just
he
so
was
detailed. Yeah.
at
Yeah.
first he was kind of like I think he was probably told by Marvel to emulate Kirby, much like Rich
Mm.
Buckler was, and a
Oh yeah.
lot of artists at that time were told
I
to
think they all were pretty
emulate
much in
Kirby.
the early days.
Don't you think in the Bronze Age a lot of artists
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
told that?
Well, yeah. I mean, Buscema was.
Kind of like we just
Yeah.
lost a big one, John Romita Sr.
I know. I
Um,
know.
he was at first told emulate Ditko on
Mm.
Spider-Man. He tried
Yeah.
that for 2 or 3 issues, and then it just kind of gravitated to his own style. He'd been
No, I
working with
mean,
he had worked for Marvel since they were Atlas in the
yeah.
early 50s.
He was. His style was fabulous. Again, I've got a Remitter
Very
Spider-Man
clean style,
artisan.
very
Yeah,
clean style.
incredibly
Do
clean.
you prefer a
Yeah.
clean style? Yours seems to be a very straightforward, clean style, or do you
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
like
I
to get
mean,
gritty a little bit?
if like you look at the Cole stuff there, I'm sort of using a lot more line work,
Right.
and
Yeah.
a lot more hatching and what have you, because
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing I want to bring to it. The reason I did the story I did, Only Death Can Save Us, in a particular way, and it was I was scratching an itch in both those books. There was a little bit of Kirby in there, there was a little bit of Buscema, and I wanted that kind of look to it. It was a definite um, stylistic choice to do that in those books. Also, in the second book, I did the whole thing it was all physical inks as well. So I was, the first one's digital, apart from a few pages that were sold. Um, the second one is completely traditional, and I had like a learning process with the brushes and the pens and what have you as well. Um, but it was definitely that style. The black, there was more spot into the blacks,
Yeah.
uh, and it just came over as like a thicker, more cartoony kind of style.
How
But that was what
often
I
do
wanted
you
to
get
do.
to work traditionally as opposed to digitally? Do you pick how you work per project?
No, it's been a slow, gradual progression, to be honest. I started off when I came back to comic books in 2010, I got myself a Cintiq because I'd been working so much with computers, with tech, and what have you, that was kind of the way I went. When I was before I was an art director, I used to lay out Argos catalogs. You don't know Argos, but it's like a big Walmart basically, and it had a big brochure catalog. And I used to art direct those. I also used to draw the layouts, and it meant that I had a lot of things in my head. I had a library of items in my head, so I could draw toasters or rings or shower systems or cupboards. It wouldn't
Great
matter.
practice for a comic book. But
Exactly. It was.
as a writer, you may be
Yeah.
called upon to draw anything at any time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I drew a huge number of things as well as models in the shots. But I'd been doing all that kind of stuff, and so when I came back after that, I also did a whole bunch of tech stuff. But when I came back, it was like I'd have loved to have had a Cintiq back then that I could have drawn onto instead of drawing a layout and having to go down to the photographer and organize all that kind of stuff. So it seemed to be like a natural thing to do, to give it a go. You use the screen. And so I started doing an awful lot of digital stuff. And my digital stuff went right the way through until the middle of the first book, Only Death Can Save Us.
Mhm.
And I really got the itch to try and do traditional work because I wanted to sell some of that work through the campaign.
Oh, shit.
And so I did several pages traditionally, and I was quite pleased with the outcome because basically up until that point I'd been a bit scared of ink. And so I enjoyed doing pencils, and I used to do traditional pencils.
Mhm.
But I was a bit afraid of the ink. But the ink pens that there are now, the brush pens and what have you, are such a high standard that I really got into it quite quickly and decided that from then on I was just unless there was specific jobs like storyboarding or what have you, I was going to do all my comics traditional ink. So now I've got to a point where I'm drawing digitally, penciling digitally, and the reason for that is I see things like layers in Clip Studio or Photoshop or whatever very much like I used to see my old
And you can adjust
Lightbox
and tilt, or that's a
Yeah.
little off, and
Yeah,
correct it
exactly.
a lot
Yeah.
quicker, can't you?
Yeah, so on a Lightbox, you draw something, you think, oh, I really like that, but that panel's too big. I'll photocopy it and withdraw and take it down in size. Then I'll put it back on the Lightbox and I'll put it back on. That's effectively what you're doing with Clip Studio. You just don't have to go to the photocopier anymore. And of course, there's great reference online now. You don't have to go to a library anymore. There's just like Google and DuckDuckGo searches and what have you, and you can go and get all the stuff that you need to research your things, probably like animals and what have you, buildings, cars, whatever it might be.
Sure.
And so I tend to pencil digitally, and then I print it out to an A3 sheet, standard artwork sheet, and I print it out blue lines, and then I ink over the top of it.
It really does help a campaign when you put that original ink stuff on, doesn't it?
I think it does, yeah. And I was very fortunate that I sold covers and 2 sets of original pages in my last campaign.
Were you
that
happy
bolstered it.
with the second campaign? It made a little less than money, but than the first campaign. But it seemed like that total can be skewed too, depending on what you offer on the campaign. You might have offered less. Did you offer less on the second campaign?
No, I don't think I offered less, but at the same time, I didn't do the rounds like I did with the first book. So
Yeah.
the first book, I went on a lot of shows, went
I
out
think
there,
you were
spoke to
on
lots
Red
of people.
Valkyrie's show, maybe.
Yeah, she was great. I mean,
Mhm.
and on Michael,
Cosplayed. I remember one thing that stuck out
it's
with me. She
great.
talked to you about the skull-like characters, that there
Yeah.
seemed to be a lot of skull-like characters within the CG movement, or the
Yeah. She was saying about there were other independent comics out there at the time that had death in them and what have you. But mine's the only one that's mine's the only one that's the hero, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it was a slightly different take on death. I wanted something that was like a pantheon of the gods. I wanted some like Thor or Hercules or something like that. Something
epic.
Yeah, something epic, but it's also something people already knew.
And
Okay.
cosmic in scope,
Yeah,
right? When
and
you
it was
think Marvel, you think cosmic in scope. Well,
yeah,
how much
exactly.
DC is in your work influence?
Oh, probably not huge amounts. I used to so buying comics went in 3 phases. When I was young, like as a kid, I used to get lots of comics, Spider-Man and Avengers and what have you, as well as Captain Britain 2000 AD and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, girls, college happened.
Yeah.
And then mid 90s when I submitted again, I was buying Batman quite a lot. I have to say I was buying an awful lot of Batman. So visually, Batman could well have had some kind of effect on me. Norm Brayfogel's work was
Kelly
fantastic.
Jones?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But all of that stuff then was great. I also picked up a lot of Swamp Thing back then as well.
Yeah. Bernie
Oh,
Wrightson?
Yeah, Bernie
Good
Wrightson
stuff.
is just
Yeah.
fabulous.
Alan Moore stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I like some of his right. Certainly, the stuff that he did in Swamp Thing was great because it was
Saga of the
very,
Swamp Thing?
yeah, it was very esoteric, extremely
Yeah.
esoteric. Brilliant stuff. So anyway, so I was picking up stuff like that. So I would say visually, DC had it definitely had effects because of the
Hank
artists they
Ferret
used.
in the chat
Brayfogel's.
actually knew Brofogel when he was a kid.
Really,
And he knew Julius Schwartz as a kid too from DC Comics.
Brayfogel's
Oh,
stuff
wow.
was iconic, fantastic stuff. I have lots of floppies up there from that time. Anyway, so that would be an impression, but the story wise would have been more sort of Stalin, Cosmic Cube, Thanos, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff from
What
Marvel.
about Chris Claremont? Chris Claremont, his writing.
Chris Claremont, yeah, I mean, X-Men. I have got those original, the big sellers, the Jim Lee big sellers from the 90s, and I did enjoy that stuff. But again, I think I was so wrapped up in the art that I probably didn't read them properly.
What do you think about John Byrne, Terry Austin?
Oh, John Byrne
Or
is
Dave
just fabulous.
Cockrum?
Have you seen the? Oh yeah, I mean names. Have you seen the John Byrne stuff that he's got on his website, where he carried on the X-Men?
Oh, I have not, but I've been told about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
fabulous!
He kind of picks it up after Neil Adams, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's like he's nailing it. Every page is just fabulous. So yeah, I mean, he would have had an effect on me without doubt. Like I was saying, there's a whole bunch of them in there, all in a big soup.
It
And
seemed
I
like
tend to pick Buscema out as my
like Jim
favorite.
Starlin got the big cosmic Thanos Avengers big story arcs when it came to cosmic storytelling in the Bronze Age.
Yeah. I mean that, and Adam Warlock as well.
Adam
That's
Warlock,
like,
right?
That all that stuff, just it all just went in. Yeah, I remember I got a comic when it won Christmas, and it was the Adam Warlock with it was the Magus thing storyline, and it had the big Eggman, that guy, and he was. I remember him shooting. I remember having the comic in my hands, but I don't have it anymore, and just flicking through it again and again and again and again, just being completely wowed by what was going on in it.
The life and death of Captain Marvel, what an epic way to kill a character. A death, slow death by cancer.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
all
that
the
was,
other heroes trying to cure him.
And the fact that he'd foreshadowed that with the is it the nuclear man or this exploding man or whatever? Nitro, yeah. And like you had that foreshadowing from that story. It's like brilliant stuff.
Oh yeah, that blew me away.
That clicked off the Marvel graphic novels. Is that
that's the first one, isn't it?
That's the very first one.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I mean, they came up with that term graphic novel, didn't they? Because they didn't want to use the word comic.
Right.
So I'm torn with that.
Well, they always did Epic line. They had Epic Comics for a while. They always were trying to take things in a new direction. It seemed like Marvel was, and something they had done, even if it's in their children's line like Star Comics. But I mean, they had the new universe in the middle of the 80s. They were always trying different things out, it seemed like. And it seems like that DC and Marvel are incestuous for stealing ideals from each other,
Oh yeah,
or
but
doing
it's gonna happen.
their own take and riff on them.
Yeah, it's gonna happen though, isn't it? When you're that big and you're the two biggest,
Yeah.
you're gonna nick stuff from each other. So
Hey,
yeah,
Ryan, Mr. Octagon, and
Octagon.
yeah, Octagon on
Hail, Ryan.
Indiegogo, still available, in demand. He'll be joining us here this week, later this week, hopefully with an announcement.
Cool.
Was it Thursday or Friday? I think he said.
Thursday or Friday, we'll see. Still working that out with him. He did a Gorgo. Are you familiar with Gorgo? That is a UK movie.
Gorgo.
Gorgo from like 1961, 62, somewhere in there.
It's kind of like a Godzilla.
Like
From the
Godzilla?
ocean.
I bet it, probably if you showed me it, I'd probably remember it.
Big Ben.
Okay.
But I can't remember that.
Yeah.
So
He
what's
wiped out
life?
Big Ben.
What? Yeah, he took down Big Ben in the the big twist of it was the creature that you thought was destructive and so large that they captured was only the baby. The mother shows up, who's like towering way above the baby, and really wreaks havoc to get her baby back. It was really a fun movie. I think you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
give it a look.
Yeah, for free. Gorgo.
It's on Tubi as well. I found it. I don't know if you guys get Tubi in the UK, Russ.
No, I've
free
not.
movie streaming.
Actually,
No.
I might have heard of Tubi. I've never watched it.
What was your favorite?
Favorite?
Your favorite comic? Your favorite? I mean, I was really into the Avengers. Shadowhawk was into the X-Men.
Captain Britain.
Captain Britain.
Yep.
Well, that was a short run, though.
Yeah, it was only 39 issues, but it was it wasn't just Captain Britain. It wasn't because it was Captain Britain. Captain Britain was the thing on the front, and that's what got me in. Although there was some fabulous Herb Trimpe artwork and what have you.
Right.
It was the whole package, like I was saying earlier. It had the rerun of the reprints of Sinnott and Buscema on Fantastic Four. In my view, the finest ever Fantastic Four. And then Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., with Steranko doing that. And then later on, it morphed into some other great stuff. They had Spider-Man in there and all other kinds of bits and pieces. And it was just a great. What it did was it mirrored what things like 2000 AD were doing. So there was only like 5 or 6 pages of a character's story in each book. It was like an anthology. Every week you had a little bit. You were continuing the story, and that's the approach they took with. Oh, look at that! That's the approach they took with Captain Britain. So I just loved that title.
This is Ryan James, the
he just did this on Shadowhawk. Said you need to do a Gorgo, so he did.
That's excellent.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I don't think I'm going to be able to afford to win it in the auction, but I appreciate you doing it anyway.
Don't put it in the auction. Sell it to me, so I can give it to Shadowhawk.
It's just picking out some other stuff for you to look at because we were talking about styles.
Okay. Can you name, say, your favorite 5 artists? They don't necessarily have to be comic.
Well, no, they'll all be comical artists. Right. Okay. Yeah. This is really difficult because there are multiples. So, John Buscema.
We will, Brian.
Neil Adams. Steranko.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is hard. I've got to put Jim Lee in there. Because I did love him when in the 90s. I just thought he was spectacular.
He was killing it in the 90s.
Yeah. This is tough.
Yeah.
This is tough. Gil Kane.
Yeah, you can't leave Gil Kane out there. I'm sorry.
It's just that's tough because there are so many other artists that just.
Yeah.
But John Buscema for you is number 1, huh?
Yeah, he is for me. He's number 1.
I think he draws the most savage looking women.
He draws the most beautiful things. And
Yeah.
I don't mean so. Like for instance, you see the women that say Jim Lee drew in the 90s, and it's like they were sharp. Do you know what I mean? They popped their chests out, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
had nice bottoms, and they had beautiful eyes, and all the rest of it, and tiny noses, and what have you. But I don't know, there was something almost like they were almost like mythical, like Greek myths. Everything that John Buscema did was
Yeah.
just like
He
this
drew a woman
mythical look
more.
to it. Didn't matter what he did.
When
He
did
And
drew. He
you
drew
I
a
love
woman
that.
more womanly, like a classic.
Yeah, I suppose.
when
Yeah,
did you get your copy of How to Draw the Marvel Way, and what effect did it have on you when you did get it?
I got it. I got the first one when I was a teenager, and I was at art school, and I lost that in a move, and then I got the next one in the early 90s. And that was when I was trying to get into Marvel, and that got a bit tattered and torn, and I got another one in 2008. I think it was around then because I was in the last house, and that's in a bit of a better state. That one's here. There you go. It's just by my side every day.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I also
That's
have
awesome, dude.
a couple of books by Will Eisner here.
All right.
Another Stan Lee one, some Dynamic Wrinkles, Dynamic Anatomy by Hogarth.
Hogarth, I was going to
Yeah.
ask you about that one. Yeah.
So Klaus Janson inking one,
Oh,
So
yeah.
That's
so
a
I've got
really
a
cool character.
I'm not a big Klaus Janson fan, to be honest, but
Right.
the book has got some really interesting and informative stuff in it. So like
What
I say, I
about
just try and keep my mind open to
what
all
about
kinds of
Frank
things.
Miller for you?
Yeah, it's not really done it for me, to be
Me
honest.
either. But
Oh.
I mean, I do appreciate his almost Starenko, like blacks and how he, noirish.
Yeah.
His way that he brings a stylized form to
Mm.
comics and the panels. And
Oh yeah, I can totally appreciate that. Somebody else
I
who
think it
is
depends, what he was working on. But
yeah, I
certain
think that
things
yeah.
he did, like Sin City. I liked Return of the Dark Knight, the 300. But a lot
Yeah.
of other things that he does, and his style varies a lot too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
look,
think you're
some of
absolutely
it
right there. The
looks
story
phoned
can
in.
make a difference.
well, dude, yeah, especially lately, a lot of it looks
Yeah.
like he's just. I mean,
Some
I talk about taking all the shortcuts.
yeah. Somebody who's up there for me that probably doesn't fit the profile of the 5 artists that I've just named would be Mike Mignola.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he is nothing. I am nothing like Mike Mignola. I'm nowhere near what Mike Mignola is. Okay, as far as the kind of work that I produce, all right, the kind of work that he produces. Okay,
Mhm.
very, very different styles, very, very different approaches. I absolutely love his work.
He doesn't draw feet often. He obscures the feet.
Yeah, often. But I love the styling. I love
Yeah.
the spotting of the blacks.
What about Joe Kubert?
I liked his older stuff a lot. Like some of the stuff I've seen lately has, and I don't know, maybe it's me that's changed, but
Right.
it just isn't hitting me the same as his older stuff does.
Yeah, the Hellboy stuff. Joe Kubert.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Hellboy, the Batman stuff that he
Joe
did. Oh
Kubert
man,
didn't draw
it's
feet.
great
Not
Batman.
really. He didn't. Not in any great detail. He said your mind can fill in the blank.
Yeah.
When it comes, everybody knows what a foot looks like.
There you go.
Feet are tough. Feet
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
be tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as well as
Hands
hands. Hands are tough,
can
but
be rough.
feet are tough. So
Well, I think
yeah.
it was John Buscema. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But that said, if you can draw hands and feet, you might have a future in this business.
Yeah, he probably
Yeah.
did say that.
Yeah. I know on the commentary of Fire and Ice, when asked about Frank Frazetta, he said he was a commercial artist like the rest of us. And I think
Yeah.
that was an honest assessment without really dissing Frazetta. I think he was a commercial artist.
Oh yeah, he
Sure he
was.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many
Amazing.
using that word commercial. I mean that's the whole point, is that it was a job.
Yeah.
All this stuff. I mean, we pore over all this artwork as how wonderful and artistic and genius it is. But you always have to remember that all these guys were doing it on the clock. You know, they were pumping this stuff out
Yeah.
in incredible
yeah.
pace. You know, so
You
this
always have to keep that into your mind when you assess even the inking, like Vince Coletta, right? On Thor or other. Yeah.
You have to. So this
Yeah,
is
What are
these
we
guys
looking
were
at here,
putting
Russ?
books out on,
this is
every
the
28 days or whatever it was.
well,
You know.
yeah, the turnaround, yeah. This is a Batman story I did for Panini and DC. I actually did the colors on this as well.
Very nice.
So it's kind of like a painted cartoon. We wanted to get sort of somewhere between sort of standard stuff and the Batman cartoon. From the 90s, as
Right. A
far as the
little
colors. Yeah.
homogenized.
Yeah.
Now, what about the bat symbol there? A little bit different, right? Dark with the yellow outline.
Yeah, this is
yeah.
this was the standard design that I was given from DC. So I had a set of documentation that I had to conform to.
I do like it.
It's nice. The only thing I
not bad.
don't like about the costume is that I've chucked some pouches on his backside there, on the back of his belt, but there were actually no pouches, which was a bit. I really would have liked to have done some pouches.
Well, now, did you like Adam West in the 60s, the 66?
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I loved that, and then I grew up to be a young adult and hated it.
Right.
And then I got older and more mature and knew what I was doing and loved it again.
Yeah, that was pretty
Yeah,
much me.
Yeah, I did the opposite. I loved it when I was a kid, and then me and my buddies, when we were teenagers, we'd get together every Saturday because they would play Batman on our local station. And of course, we had just discovered marijuana and stuff, so we'd get together, get high, and watch Batman. So I fell in love with it again, and then.
So I love.
Did you see Green Hornet? It was
a little
only out about a year, and it had a crossover in Batman 66.
Oh yeah.
Back
Bruce
in the it died out around 1940, around when World War II came about.
Right.
But up to that point, there was always a link. I don't know if you know this, between the Lone Ranger and Green Hornet. The Lone Ranger was the ancestor of Britt Reed.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
And some of them have brought that back. Writers that use those characters now.
Yeah, well, that would be something I'd love a crack at.
Yeah,
any of those things, like
the Golden Age public domain type stuff.
The Phantom, the Shadow.
Oh, the Phantom is still cool.
All the old pulp stuff. Doc Savage.
Savage. I would drop.
Julius Schwartz wrote some of those pulps back in the day before he came to DC Comics and became the editor in chief.
Yeah, that's not.
And
surprising.
ushered in the silver age of comics with Showcase #4, first appearance of Flash, sort of a reboot.
That was where the two Flashes were together, is it?
Well, later on, yeah.
Later
he
on,
first
right.
introduced the Silver Age Flash and then brought back the Golden Age Flash.
The one with the tin hat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Mercury. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is our modern day mythology, isn't it, Russ?
Oh, it is, and it's important. It's such a pity that it's not getting read as much, and it's comics in general, certainly the mainstream are not doing so well at the moment, and manga's doing well, indies are doing well, but they're still not getting out far enough. We're still not getting enough people reading comics.
I think two things we have to overcome: distribution, of course, and I think crowdfunding helps. you got to get it out there in front of the people.
Yeah.
A perfect example, we had Mike Barron on recently, and
Oh,
I
Mike.
said, you really got a bump when you went on Fox News. His
Not
campaign
surprised. Yeah.
was over like $10,000 because people who did not collect comics said, I believe in what you're trying to
Yeah.
do, talking
Yeah.
about defund the police and something that's prescient to our times. And then the second we touched upon earlier, I'm Momentum Comics, Momentum Concepts, movement within comics,
Mm.
keeping that flow and movement and taking someone on a journey from the first page to the last, I think is important, and
Yeah.
not looking stiff or you know hung up on some panel somewhere.
No, that's right. You've got to keep the reason that it used to work was because it was pulp,
It
and
needs
people
to
used to
be a
come
good
back.
read.
Yeah,
Needs to be a good
people would
read.
keep coming back because it was great fun,
Yeah.
and that's something I try to do with Only Death Can Save Us. Is it's cosmic and it's dealing with all kinds of esoteric ideas, and
What are you
but at the
trying
end of
to
the
say with that book?
but at the end of the day, it was a great punch up. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was like it was the bad guy and the good guy, and they had a good fight, and it was there was lots of Kirby crackle, and I wasn't trying to say anything particular. I was as far as the lore and the background stuff, I was trying to explore some of the concepts and ideas that I'd come across over the last 10, 15 years, looking, watching Coast to Coast or listening to quantum physics documentaries or all kinds of different stuff, looking at esoterics, looking at religion, and just myths as well, modern and old, and just sort of like cramming it all in and finding a narrative around it, and having somebody like Death kind of like made that easier because it's the whole
Culture
thing
made
is
an
being
impact on you. What impact do you want to make on the culture with your stuff?
I just want to tell stories.
Do you want to inspire some
I want to
young kid that
inspire
might
other
pick
people.
up your
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah. I
happened to
mean,
you?
I read comics and ridiculous Stanley dialogue, and it meant that I went and checked out the words that he put into the dialogue. I went and looked them up in dictionaries. And if I hadn't have read comics, okay, I would never have read Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or any of the other stuff that I've read
Right.
apart from
It
technical manuals.
was progressive, led into deeper things, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a gateway drug to reading novels, but it never stopped me coming back and reading more
You
comics.
heard it
That's for
here,
sure.
folks. First here, folks. Russ Leach says the comics are good for your kids, and it's a gateway drug.
It is.
It's addictive. I'm addicted, and I'm addicted to
The
Death Can
gateway
Save Us.
to a level of fiction. Yeah,
Is there
nothing wrong
any way we can work out a trade for some artwork?
Oh,
Russ?
damn straight you can.
with that.
If you like some John Buscema, I have more John Buscema than any other artist in
Oh,
my
right. Okay. Well,
collection.
yes, there's a
Yeah.
big yes.
Yeah.
If that's something you want to do, I mean, I don't know why you would do it for my artwork, but
Well, I mean, I
if
would
that
like
is,
I would like you to do one of my characters or something, like for something, and
Mhm.
then because I have a little lowly ash can out right now. I'll show you the oversized version of it here so that you might see some of the artwork that was in it. One
Russ,
piece
and
done by me.
I don't know if you are
Mhm.
acquainted with Rex or not, but he puts out characters like Kirby did, man.
oh,
This
look at
guy's
that.
always
That's
Double
great.
page spread here.
Love that.
This was done by my neighbor. He actually did it to scale of a comic book. John Falandes. But he
Oh,
did
very
this
nice.
piece as well.
Yeah.
This is Devil Flyer, but I have a whole, unlike Marvel and DC, I did this piece here, and Doc Blaylock did this acrylic painting here.
That's great.
So we have different characters. We have all interlinking. That's the cover that I'm inking now,
Nice.
wraparound cover with. So, we need to find a good character that fits you, and
Yeah.
worked something,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But Lady of the Night here, Retro Silver Boa,
Lovely.
going to be past, present, and future stories told, interlinking universe. This is kind of my watcher character called the Bystander, modern day Silver Boa
It's a
here.
bit, yeah. The bystander's a little bit like the Question, isn't he? There.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little
And it's
bit.
all it's meant to be, right? Did you ever like Ghost Rider?
Love Ghost Rider. Yeah.
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 I
Ghost
think that
Rider.
was your first comic, wasn't it? Shadowhawk, Ghost Rider.
Ghost
Um,
Rider was a submission I did.
No, actually, Hulk was my first.
Oh, that's right. Rampaging Hulk magazine.
Rampaging Hulk. Yeah,
I
This
did
is
a
my homage to Action Comics #1, where they're picking up the
Nice.
card. Yeah. So
I did a Ghost Rider submission to Marvel. That was the first one that got me noticed in the 90s when they started talking to me. So yeah, I did love Ghost Rider. Yeah.
well, if you like John Buscema, pew pew pew, we can work something out.
Yep.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have some Russ Leach artwork. You bet.
I'd love you to have some.
Yeah. I think you're one of the most. I mean, you and Gary Shipman, who does Titan, the Mighty Titan, which is the mouse character like Batman. He was on with us Friday. He is very dramatic, emotes emotions with his characters, and very noirish, for lack of a better word, in his artwork. You know, lots of blacks, and the Bernie Wrightson effect, and
I love his stuff.
and just you're to me, you're one of the gems in the rough that not everybody's discovered.
Thank you.
But I think if you keep at it, man, you might actually make it.
Thanks very much.
Well, Russ, it's been a pleasure. I hate to cut this short, but
No, my
work.
apologies for coming in so late. I really am sorry about that. It's something
No,
I couldn't do anything about.
no problem.
Well, hang on just for a second. I'll talk to you behind the scenes here for a minute or two,
Sure.
if you can. But thank you, chat, for coming in, all the viewers. Keep collecting and keep watching the stars as always.